everyone. Welcome to the DEC video podcast here. We are here, Steve Patton, the Associate Director for Family Respect and Family and Respect Life Ministries, and myself, Kevin Stasko, Director of Evangelization and Catechesis, are here at the Pastoral Center in Sacramento, right downtown on Broadway. And Ana Ibarra is also with us. She is the Associate Director for the North State Revitalization Project, and she's going to revive the North State single-handedly, so we're very excited about that. Anyway, the three of us are here to talk a little bit about some of the things that are going on in the Department of Evangelization and Catechesis. We're a large department with many moving parts, and we thought this video cast would help you understand who we are and all of the areas of ministry that we're involved in. So we have 4 or 5 things we want to highlight today, and we're going to start with Steve on physician-assisted suicide.
But before we do that, Kevin, I wanted Anna to illustrate how we really are a diverse diocese, weather-wise also, because we're here in warm Sacramento, and Anna is up in the frigid north, and she's wearing gloves in her office.
Yes, it's cold up here. And I'm just, everybody tells me I'm just a big Southern California baby. I can't handle the cold weather, but it's cold.
Yes, Ana comes to us from Los Angeles. I came here over a year ago, but she's still acclimating, and she's only moved to the north. How long ago did you move up north?
About a month ago, a month and a couple of weeks, something like that, a month. Yeah, so it's the weather's very different, yes.
We are trying to find money in the budget to give her heat, so we're working on it.
For now, I have gloves and scarves.
So I'm here to tell you about an effort that will become forthcoming in the California dioceses against the recently enacted law allowing physician-assisted suicide. It had, before Governor Brown signed it into law, it had been a law only permitted in 3 or 4 states in the United States. There had been a big effort in California to introduce this law, a lot of fighting, a lot of wrangling, a lot of manipulation, and it finally was passed by both chambers of our legislature, and then Governor Brown signed it into law a couple of months ago. Now, the bishops of California unanimously decided within the last few weeks that they would make an exception to their normal policy of not participating in signature gathering efforts. Now, the bishops encouraged the people of California to support initiatives and referendums once they make it onto the ballot, but very infrequently will they mobilize the parishes of the state to gather signatures on the front end. But this was a rare exception. The first time we had done this in, I believe, 4 years. So all of the California bishops and all the California dioceses will be participating in this. And what it is, it's a referendum. It will be in order for signatures to be gathered to override the legislature and the governor in enacting this bill. So we will need to gather hundreds of thousands of signatures, and we need to do it soon. So in all the parishes of our diocese of Sacramento and all the dioceses, all the other 11 dioceses of California, parishes will be receiving these petitions within the next few weeks, and we're planning for all the parishes to participate in this drive on the weekend of December 5th and 6th. I believe that's 4th and 5th or 5th and 6th. I can't remember what the Sundays are right now, but so we're asking everyone to please participate in that, not only signing the referendums, but also helping to gather signatures too if they're looking for volunteers in your parish.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Now we're going to move up to Ana. She's going to talk about a new model of Hispanic faith formation that the bishop has proposed.
Yes, but I just want to say something about what Steve said. I think that's great that the bishops are doing this about that bill that was signed. I was in Chicago when I got the news of that, and I was so sad. There were a lot of different states were represented at this meeting I was, and when we went into the meeting and said, California signed this bill, and we stopped and prayed. We stopped the meeting and we prayed. It was just one of those things like, what? Why? How could this be happening? So I'm glad that the California bishops are doing this. So So this new model of catechesis, one of the things that we've always struggled with catechesis is the language. There's a lot of Hispanic children who were born here in the United States, and they don't speak Spanish. You know, a lot of the parents speak Spanish, but because the kids go to school here in the United States, they learn English, and sometimes at home, because the parents don't understand, they don't really talk to each other. And those families that are second and third generation, they just figure, you know what, let's weed out the Spanish language. But there are some migrating families or immigrant families that are coming here to the United States and wanting to put their children in Spanish-speaking catechesis. And a lot of times those children who go to school every day in English go to the Spanish classes of catechesis, and they're like, what? You know, what? No comprendo. And because it's not being spoken at home. So one of the things that we looked into was that here in the Diocese of Sacramento, the Vietnamese Martyrs Parish does a wonderful program that they incorporate everything into it. They incorporate language, culture, and catechesis into their faith formation, which is really wonderful. We spent, a couple of us went there and spent the day with them looking at everything that they do. And when we came back and reported that to Bishop Soto, he says, let's do it. Let's do it with the Hispanic community. And that would include things like teaching the kids Spanish bilingually. The most of the books that people use in the parishes are bilingual, Spanish and English. So that's one thing, but also having that language section of the day where they're learning, you know, even apple, manzana, you know, things like that. And, but also learning about the culture, because one of the things that the families fear and why they want the children in these Spanish classes is because they're losing the culture. They're here in the United States, and they're, you know, when we hear so many things in the news, and, you know, just, you know, don't do that. We're in America now, and do it this way. So a lot of the kids are losing their culture. So part of this catechesis is to try to regain some of that and have them build the leadership. One of the things that we really are looking at here in the United States is just building the leadership of the Hispanic people. And it has to start when they're young. So part of what the Vietnamese do in their programs is that they start from when they're little, you know, going to the classes of catechesis. And as they get older, they kind of graduate into leadership positions, and they're taught leadership skills and things like that. And they really are very structured, and just very well run. You know, we went there and it was everybody knew what they were supposed to do, and the parents are involved, and the young people are involved, and the little ones are there to learn, and the young people are growing in their faith and in leadership. That's one of the things that really impressed me the most, was just their leadership skills. And so that's something that we would like, you know, when we came and presented that to Bishop Soto, he says, let's try it. Yeah. And I know that he did. We did do a presentation to the pastors that have Hispanic ministry in their parishes, and I believe that 2 of the parishes, I don't remember which ones they are, but I believe that 2 parishes said, "We'll try it. Let's try to do this in our parish." And I think that's wonderful. I really think that that's something that's when we get the family involved, something in the Hispanic culture. When you get la familia, the family involved, it's gold. You know, that's very, very important.
Yeah, you know, I was really excited to hear about the model and the bishop's support of it. You know, that I had the opportunity to tour the Korean Catholic Church in our diocese as well, and they have a very similar program. They do a language and cultural school, you know, of Korean culture and Korean language. Then afterwards, they do catechesis in English, ironically, and then they have Mass, which is bilingual in Korean and English. And so this model of like a cultural and language school combined with catechesis is really interesting and great that the Hispanic, you know, maybe if several of these programs pop up in the diocese, just a great example of how we learn from other cultures, and that how the Vietnamese and the Korean culture, which are a much smaller segment of our church here in the diocese, would be lending their model to better Hispanic catechesis. It's really interesting,
Right.
very intercultural. But the other thing that I thought was that's really interesting is, historically the Catholic Church has been where immigrants have come to assimilate into the culture, right? The ethnic churches were where immigrants traditionally learned English. They would come and they could connect through their religious beliefs to their church and learn English. And so now we've almost come full circle, where now the churches are the bastions of the culture, and in some ways of the Catholic Church, helping people retain their culture against the forces that are that the American culture being very prevalent, and many young people abandoning their culture and language, and so then the church helping people retain some of that cultural identity, I think, is really interesting. So it's interesting how that's kind of come full circle in a way, because if you look at the history of the Catholic churches in the U.S., they were always the welcoming of the immigrants, helping them learn English and helping them understand the culture so that they could go into the workforce and survive here. And so now the churches are being used in a different way. That's really,
and that is really interesting, because now the church has recognized and said, we need to remind them that their culture and their faith are very connected. The way that the family practices their faith, if they practice it at home, and a lot of it might even be that disconnect of parents and kids, the parents thinking they're not going to understand what I do because the American culture or their culture here in America is very different. When they do their own cultural things, sometimes the kids don't see that connection. So I think it's really wonderful that the church is saying, let's have them be able to make that connection, to build that bridge between the two, their culture, their faith, and their family and who they are.
Yeah. That's a nice segue into our next segment, which is talking about our intercultural competencies workshop. The U.S. bishops have asked that all ministers, both volunteer and paid ministers, parish and otherwise, work on developing a set of intercultural competencies so that they might be able to work with other cultures more effectively. We all have, many Catholics, not all Catholics, but many Catholics have had the experience of, a different cultural, two different cultural or racial groups trying to share the same parish, and sometimes there's no communication or connection between the two. And so this intercultural workshop might be great for any Catholic, any ministry, any leader in Catholic ministry, or any Catholic that would like to gain these skills. And this workshop we have going on is happening on December 5th. It's the Saturday, December 5th, from 9 o'clock in the morning until 5 in the afternoon at St. Clair Parish in Roseville. You can find out all the details on our events website, saccatholic.org, or on our website, scddec.org. You can also go to the SCD site, scd.org site, click on Evangelization and Catechesis, and find on our calendar the Intercultural Competencies Workshop, again, which is being offered at St. Clair on Saturday, the 5th of December at 9 o'clock in the morning. Very good practical workshop. It's not one where you're just sitting and listening to people lecture. It's really an active workshop to learn about culture, what we need to know about culture and the differences in cultures, so that we can be more effective in ministering to people between cultures. So, more and more, as we become a more and more diverse church in Sacramento, you're not only going to be ministering to your own culture. There was a time when even our own pastoral center had a Hispanic staff and an English staff, and the Hispanic staff dealt with the Hispanic, English staff dealt with everybody else, and there wasn't a lot of collaboration. Well, the Hispanic apostolate has since been closed in our diocese and folded into our department. So that's one of our department, challenges and opportunities that we are tasked with reaching out and serving all cultures. So it's important that we have intercultural competency. So Don't worry about it. The entire diocese will also be taking that workshop on December 4th in the morning. We'll be doing an intercultural competencies workshop, our entire building, including all the secretaries, the accountants, everyone learning a little bit about culture and how that affects our ministry and how we deal with the parishes. The other thing I wanted to talk briefly about is the Year of Mercy, and I'll go into more detail on this at our next podcast next week. But I want to let you know that the year, as you probably know, or I hope you know now, the Pope Francis has declared a Jubilee Year of Mercy, a Holy Year of Mercy, which will start on the 8th of December, which is the Feast of the Immaculate Conception, but it's also the 50th anniversary of the closing of the Vatican II Council. And he's asked that we relook at this idea of mercy. His theme is be merciful as your Father, merciful like the Father. And it comes from the scripture verse, be merciful as my Father is merciful. This idea that, God is we believe that our God is a merciful God, and that we need to show that mercy to others. Two things that we'll be emphasizing as a diocese during the Year of Mercy is, one, the corporal and spiritual works of mercy. The Catholic Church has the corporal and spiritual works of mercy, and the bishops asked us to memorize those corporal and spiritual works of mercy. There's 14 of them, and I won't test Steve and Anna to say them all, but I will read them really quickly. The corporal works of mercy are feeding the hungry, giving drink to the thirsty, clothe the naked, shelter the homeless, visit the sick, visit the imprisoned, and bury the dead. And then the spiritual works of mercy are, of course, admonish the sinner, instruct the ignorant, counsel the doubtful, comfort the sorrowful, bear wrongs patiently, forgive all injuries, and pray for the living and the dead. The bishops are asking us to memorize these, but do more than that, also to practice these during the Year of Mercy. Really, our faith is a way of life. It's not just a set of doctrines. So we need to learn what these corporal and spiritual works are, but we also need to perform them because they have the effect of making us holy. They have the effect of turning us towards Jesus. They have the effect of helping us understand mercy. It's not only understanding mercy as a broad concept, it's practicing mercy so that we can understand it better. We've actually paired these works of mercy with locations throughout our diocese that we've called pilgrimage sites. And there are 12 pilgrimage sites. And I'll talk a little bit more about the pilgrimage sites next time. But these 12 pilgrimage sites, there's one for each deanery. So every deanery of the diocese has their own pilgrimage site. And we're asking people to consider doing two things during the Year of Mercy. One is practicing the works, the spiritual and corporal works of mercy. And the second thing is to visit these sites and to pray at these holy sites so that you might have an idea. It helps us understand kind of the complexity of the diocese. And there's also indulgences available if you visit these sites and pray at these various sites. I won't go into indulgences this week either. We'll try that next week. But let's just say we have 12 pilgrimage sites picked out. They're all connected to a corporal or spiritual work of mercy. And we're asking people either to visit the sites and also to practice the spiritual and corporal works of mercy. We will be mailing out to all the parishes a map of the diocese and with a set of stickers. And so as you visit each of these sites or as you practice these corporal or spiritual works of mercy, you can put the stickers on the map and try to collect all 12 stickers by saying, hey, I visited all 12 sites, or I practiced all these spiritual and corporal works of mercy. The second thing we'll really be emphasizing is something called 24 Hours for the Lord. And that's going to happen in March, on the 4th and 5th of March. So it starts at noon on the 4th of March and goes noon to the 5th of March. And what we're going to have is 24 hours of straight reconciliation in every single deanery of the diocese. So some deaneries will pick a local church, and for 24 hours, priests will be available to hear confessions. In other deaneries, it'll be split between several parishes. So like 3 or 4 hours here, and then the confession will move. But the idea here is to try to get every Catholic in the diocese to receive the sacrament of confession during those 24 hours for the Lord. Also, every parish in the diocese is being asked to add an additional hour of confession every week during Lent. And that would hopefully be at a time when working folks can more easily get to confession, a night during the week or an extra hour on Saturday or Sunday, so that people would be able to partake of this important sacrament of mercy. Don't worry, the Pope has also instructed all priests to be much more merciful in the confessional. So it is going to be really easy for you to get to confession, and the priests have been told by the Pope, ordered by the Pope, to be more merciful. So those are the two things that I want you to know about, the pilgrimage sites and practicing the spiritual and corporate works of mercy. And on the other side, really reclaiming, and if you haven't been to reconciliation in a while, taking some time to go to reconciliation. You'll be hearing a lot about the Year of Mercy in the coming year, but those are the two things I wanted to emphasize today. Okay,
So Kevin, if the people go to all 12 sites and get all the different 12 stickers, do they get like a set of steak knives or something? What's the incentive for doing all that?
I actually thought that as I was translating it, I was thinking, hey, is there going to be something funny like that? Like they get a,
really do something. They send you a
they
certificate.
get a brick in the cathedral or something.
But no, it's really just the act of doing pilgrimage and praying at the sites and practicing spiritual works of mercy will get you it's for your own spiritual reward. It's for the healing of your the healing and purifying of your soul, and of just really trying to help you on your spiritual path. I'll talk a little bit more about the indulgences available at the next thing, so maybe that'll make it clear. But we also are going to have a set of you can also order. You have to pay for these, but it's a lanyard with a set of pins from all 12 of the sites that will be you can order on our website. We're taking pre-orders for that because they're kind of expensive. But the idea is, if you wanted to have something a little bit more of a memento of our Year of Mercy together, you could get that. Okay? All right, so I think we're moving from that to, marriage and the mystery of God. Back to you, Steve.
Yes, I'm going to let you know about a program that I'll be teaching starting next Monday night, November the 23rd. It's a 4-evening series entitled Marriage and the Mystery of God. Each evening is 2 hours from 6:30 to 8:30. So it'll be November 23rd, 30th, December 7th, and 14th. And the program will survey this book, which is it's a marriage preparation book, but it's the best book I've seen out there for marriage enrichment as well as for marriage preparation. So it is filled with just wonderful, helpful illustrations about how we were made in God's image and how marriage was made in God's image and how we're made different, male and female. So it's just a very beautiful, helpful book, which I'll be walking people through in this series. So each of the 4 evenings will be dedicated to one of the 4 essential elements of marriage. That marriage is freely entered into. It's fully entered into. We have to completely give ourselves to the other. It is faithfully entered into, that we enter into it, not turning back and never will turn back for the rest of our lives. And that we're, of course, faithful. We're not ever unfaithful in our marriages. And then finally, that it's fruitful, that it's ordered toward the procreation and education of offspring. So we'll be covering that in each one of these sessions. If you'd like to find out more about the course, the website is themeaningoflove.info. All one word, themeaningoflove.info. I actually already closed registration the registration deadline was November the 13th, which I know is already way past. But the only reason I put that in there is to make sure that you would get your book on time. But people can still register for the course. You might just get your book a few days later than the start of the program, which would be just fine. So the cost is $30. It's not much, especially given the fact that you get a great workbook out of it. And you can also attend the program at home. I'll be teaching it live here at the Pastoral Center, but it'll be also made available via internet live stream. And I've got about 30 couples or some individuals signing up. I actually got one priest signed up to take the course. They'll about 3/4 of the people who signed up, of those 30, will be watching at home. I'll only have a handful of people here at the Pastoral Center, but I've got people in Reading, I've got people in not Wairika, in Alturas attending. So all over the diocese. This is one of our first attempts to offer programming in the diocese via internet live stream. So I'm trusting it's going to go well, and I welcome people to consider attending.
And people don't realize that Steve is the most cutting edge in technology in our department, offering the first. He is the first. I think he was the first. I really do believe that Steve was the first video conferenced workshop in our diocese, and he is now the first live streamed conference, mainstream live streamed conference that we've done. And so please support Steve's efforts. It's going to be a great class, and you could just sign in from your own home. You don't have to drive down here. And I'm sure all the people up in Reading will love that. Reading is not really the North State, I was told, but more north above that. But even from Wairika to Alturas and Susanville and Reading, and they'll all love that live stream option, won't they, up there?
Yes, they will. I was just going to ask when you were talking about it, I said, are they going to do that up here? But I'm glad that it's going to be happening via live stream, because people do ask for that. That's one of the things that I hear all the time. We never get anything up here. So this is going to be great. Thank you, Steve, for being the pioneer of technology.
That's right.
Oh, I'm really known for that. Really not.
Yeah, but as I recall, I think that before you even started in the department, our colleague Carson Weber was your CD on contraception.
Yes, I'll just mention that in passing. Contraception, why not?
He was the first, and Steve was also the first person to have a commercially available CD-ROM available of his material.
No, it's actually, excuse me, the CD is Why Contraception Matters. Why Contraception Matters, and you can listen to it streaming off the internet at onemoresoul.com. So all one word, onemoresoul.com.
Not to lose that plug there. Okay, so finally we're going to go up to just briefly on it. We're pretty much out of time, but can you talk a little bit? We have an important process coming up in the next couple of years that I thought people should know about, and that's the Encuentro process. Can you talk about that?
Yes, there's something that's coming up. It's called the Quinto Encuentro, the fifth encounter, which is for Hispanic ministry here in the United States. And one of its main things, goals is to let the Hispanic people see how important it is to be in leadership in the church, and what it means, what our faith means to us. And what it means, the word encounter in Spanish, encuentro, is, I love that word, because it really is something that we're called to as Catholics, is to meet each other and to journey together. One of the things that has come out, that all the different workshops and meetings that I've gone to about this encuentro process, is the word acompañamiento, and that is accompaniment, accompanying people on their faith journey. And so that's something that we're looking toward rejuvenating in the people, is that idea of journeying together. We have the Quinto Encuentro is going to be taking place in September of 2017, and up until then, every diocese, every state, all over the United States is preparing for that, getting the people ready in how we work together, how to collaborate, how to be people of faith, be people of this faithful journey that we're on. So each diocese is going to be doing different things. We in the Diocese of Sacramento do something already that is wonderful, that we have an encuentro every January for the Hispanic people. So that's something that we already have working in this process of getting the people together, of making sure that we're all on the same page, that we're all, again, on this faithful journey together, and not here to separate from each other, not here to say this is the English church, this is the Spanish church. No, we're all one people of God, and how we can work together, being authentic to ourselves.
Okay, great. Thank you, Anna, and thank you, everyone. Just a reminder for everyone. Bishop Soto and Bishop Cotta are away this week at the U.S. Bishops meeting, and let's keep them in our prayers. Let's also keep Jen Campbell in our prayers. She's our youth ministry coordinator for youth ministry here in the diocese, and she's away at the National Catholic Youth Conference. Also, a shout out to one of our parishes that is very faithful to that conference. That's St. Christopher's in Gaul, and the youth minister Eva Delgado. They're there representing the diocese. Apparently, they're wearing shark hats. So if you're out there and if you're watching this on your phone from NCYC and you see people in shark hats, that's St. Christopher.
Sacramento.
So anyway, thank you. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be on here every week with a blog talking a little bit about what's going on in our department, and that most of the time will be with our associate directors, who are Cecilia Flores is the Youth and Young Adult Ministry Associate Director. We have Anna up in the North State, who's our North State Revitalization Associate Director, and we have Steve, who's with me here, who is our Family and Respect Life Associate Director. And I'm Kevin, Director of the Department of Evangelization and Catechesis. If you'd like to find out more about our programs, what we do, and ourselves, check us out on Facebook, and you can also check us out on our website, which is scd.org. Click on Evangelization and Catechesis. Thank you very much. Have a good day.